I had been looking forward to that day for weeks, a chance to surprise Claire on her birthday. The day had dragged on, filled with mundane tasks and the weight of routine. But the thought of the gift I had carefully hidden in my briefcase kept my spirits high. The necklace I had chosen for her was perfect, something I knew she would love. But more than that, it was a symbol of what she meant to me, a reflection of my love and devotion. I could hardly wait to get home, to see the light in her eyes when she opened it, and to enjoy a quiet evening together. As I stepped through the front door, the familiar sounds of laughter and conversation drifted from the kitchen. Claire's voice, warm and full of ease, intertwined with our daughter Lily's, filling the house with a comfortable rhythm. At first, everything seemed normal, pleasant even. I paused in the hallway, just out of sight, savoring the moment before I revealed myself. I wanted to catch them off guard, to step in with a smile and present my gift. But then something caught my attention. "I can't believe how much I missed you last night," Claire's voice carried through the air, teasing and flirtatious. "You really know how to make a night unforgettable." I froze. The words echoed in my mind, sending a jolt through my chest. My heartbeat quickened as I listened more closely. "What do you mean, Mom?" Lily's voice was youthful, uncertain, hesitant. Claire let out a soft, almost secretive chuckle. "I mean, your friend Matt is just so different. I had no idea he could be that talented." Her voice dropped slightly, a tone of intimacy creeping in, as if she were letting Lily in on a secret. Last night was unexpected in all the right ways. A cold wave of dread crashed over me, drowning out the warmth I had felt just moments before. My fingers instinctively tightened around the doorknob as my mind raced to make sense of what I was hearing. Matt. Who was Matt? And why did Claire sound so intimate when she spoke about him? I wanted to step forward, to demand an explanation, but I couldn't move. I stood there, paralyzed, trying to convince myself that I had misheard, that I was twisting something innocent into something sinister. But then Lily spoke again, her voice quiet yet laced with conviction. "I knew you'd like him, Mom," she said. "He's perfect for you. Not like Dad. He gets it." The words struck like a dagger, each syllable twisting deep into my chest. My world, the one I had so carefully built around Claire and our family, began to crumble before me. I backed away from the kitchen, retreating to the dimly lit living room, my mind spinning. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was something more. Something I wasn't ready to face. That night, as Claire and Lily went to bed, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The necklace, the one I had picked with such care, felt like a weight on my chest, no longer a symbol of love but of my own blind trust. Claire's laughter echoed in my mind, light and carefree, while I felt like I was slipping further into darkness. Tomorrow, I told myself. Tomorrow, I would find the truth. In the days that followed, I became an observer in my own home, watching Claire and Lily with quiet intensity. Every glance they shared, every late night Claire spent away, every hushed phone call. It all began to take on a new, painful significance. The life I thought I knew was unraveling, and I had no choice but to follow the threads. One evening, long after Claire had gone to bed, I found myself in the kitchen. Her phone sat on the counter, its screen glowing faintly in the dim light. I hesitated, my pulse hammering, my conscience battling against my need for answers. But the temptation was too strong. With a shaky breath, I reached for the phone, unlocked it, and scrolled through her messages. My heart pounded harder with each flick of my thumb, a silent prayer forming in my mind that I was wrong. But then I saw it. A series of texts from a contact named Matt. "You were amazing last night. I can't stop thinking about you. Can't wait to do it again." Each message felt like a hammer blow, shattering the fragile hope I had clung to. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was real. Claire was having an affair. And it wasn't some fleeting mistake. It was something deeper, something that had been happening for months. I took screenshots, saving the evidence. I couldn't confront her without it. The next day, I went to Lily. She was at her desk, studying for an upcoming exam, when I knocked on her door. She looked up, her eyes wary. "Dad, what's going on?" she asked, her voice uncertain. I stepped inside, holding out Claire's phone. "Lily, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "About your mom." Her face paled as she closed her laptop, guilt flickering across her expression. "Lily, I found something," I continued, showing her the messages. "Do you want to explain this?" Her eyes widened in horror. She took a step back, her voice trembling. "Dad, I didn't want you to find out like this," she stammered. "I didn't know what to do. Mom, she was lonely, and Matt, He's just a friend. I thought it would make her happy. Happy? My voice was sharp with disbelief. Is that what you think? Helping her cheat on me is helping her. Lily's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know how to fix things, Dad. I thought if I stayed quiet, it would get better. But it didn't. She wasn't the enemy here. She was just a child caught in the wreckage of something she couldn't control. I took a deep breath, softening my tone. Lily, I know you were trying to help. But we need to deal with this together. We have to talk to Mom. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. I'm sorry, Dad. I never wanted this. I know, sweetie. I placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. I know. That evening, as Claire walked through the front door, I was waiting. She sensed the tension immediately, her eyes flicking between me and Lily. What's going on? She asked, setting her bag down. I handed her the phone. Do you want to explain this? Claire's face drained of color as she read the messages. Her hands trembled. Tom, it's not what you think, she whispered. I shook my head, my patience fraying. Then tell me what it is, Claire. Who is Matt? She hesitated, glancing at Lily, guilt pooling in her eyes. Finally, she sighed, shoulders sagging under the weight of her own betrayal. It's complicated, she murmured. I messed up. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen, I said, my voice cold. And now we have to deal with it. The room was silent, thick with unspoken words and shattered trust. I stared at Claire, waiting for an explanation I wasn't sure I could bear to hear. But I couldn't listen anymore. Not now. I need time to think, I said finally. I'll be staying at David's for a while. Claire nodded, unable to meet my eyes. As I turned to leave, Lily reached out, her voice breaking. I'm sorry, Dad. I know, I said softly, squeezing her hand. We'll get through this. Together. The days that followed passed in a haze of anger, grief, and a desperate search for clarity. But one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. I stayed at David's house, trying to keep my emotions in check. His place became my refuge, a sanctuary where I could escape the suffocating weight of my shattered marriage, if only temporarily. David had been my friend for years, and through this ordeal, he had proven to be a constant source of support. You don't have to decide anything right now, David would say, his voice calm and steady. Take your time. Let it settle. But when you're ready, we'll make sure you handle this the right way. His words were meant to soothe, but the storm inside me was relentless. Claire had betrayed me in the most profound way possible, and I couldn't just let it slide. The more I thought about her affair with Matt, the more the desire for revenge took root inside me. It wasn't just about punishing her. It was about making her feel the gravity of what she had done. There would be no easy escape, no clean break. She had destroyed my trust, and now she would face the weight of that betrayal in every corner of her life. Sleepless nights passed as I meticulously went over every detail in my head. I had the evidence, screenshots of incriminating messages. Confronting Claire was no longer the only objective. I needed control. I needed to make sure that the fallout hit her as hard as it had hit me. One evening, as I sat in David's living room, my phone buzzed. Claire. My heart skipped a beat, though I had anticipated this moment. I had been preparing for it. I picked up, keeping my voice cold and distant. Tom, she whispered, her voice fragile, trembling. I know you need time, but we need to talk. I'm sorry for everything. I never meant to hurt you. Her words barely registered. The damage was already done, and no amount of regret could undo it. Still, a small pang of guilt gnawed at me. I had loved her, trusted her. And yet, she had chosen someone else. We need to meet, I said firmly. I'm done waiting. You need to understand what this is going to cost you. She hesitated but agreed. The next morning, I returned home, stepping through the doorway that had once felt like the heart of our family. Now, it was just a hollow space, stripped of warmth. Claire was in the kitchen, nervously arranging things on the counter. When her eyes met mine, I saw the vulnerability, the fear creeping in. Tom, I'm so sorry, she began, but I cut her off with a wave of my hand. You had your chance to apologize, I said, my voice sharp. Now it's time to face the consequences. Her face paled, her lips parted as if she wanted to argue, but no words came. I moved past her, walking into the living room where I had placed a folder, a collection of everything I had prepared. Inside were the divorce papers and irrefutable proof of her affair with Matt. I had spent countless nights envisioning this moment, and now it was time. Sit down, Claire. My voice was devoid of warmth. We need to go over a few things. She hesitated before sinking into the chair, her hands trembling. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to remain composed. This wasn't about anger anymore. This was about reclaiming my life, my future, and ensuring that my family's well-being was no longer at the mercy of her choices. I've thought a lot about everything, I began. For a moment, I wanted to believe we could move past this. That maybe, just maybe, things could go back to the way they were. Her lips quivered. Tom, please. No, my tone was unyielding. You betrayed me, and now you will pay the price. I slid the divorce papers across the table. Her breath hitched as she stared at them, realization crashing down on her. Happy birthday, Claire, I murmured, my voice dripping with finality. Consider this my gift to you, the end of our marriage. Tears welled in her eyes as she picked up the papers, shaking her head. Tom, please, this can't be happening. I remained impassive. But it is. She reached for my hand, desperation etched across her face. I pulled away. There's nothing left to save, I told her. You made your choice. A suffocating silence settled between us. She had expected a fight, perhaps even an opportunity to negotiate. But she hadn't prepared for this, the finality of my decision. She sat there, clutching the papers, her entire world unraveling. I stood, walking toward the door. We'll finalize everything soon, I said without looking back. But for now, this is done. I'm done. Her pleas faded behind me as I drove away, leaving behind the wreckage of our marriage. The next few days blurred together. I stayed with David, sorting through the mess of emotions and decisions ahead. The legal proceedings moved swiftly, bolstered by the undeniable evidence of Claire's betrayal. There was no turning back. But it wasn't enough. Claire had taken everything from me, and I wanted her to feel the depth of what she had done. Fairness wasn't enough anymore. She had to understand the consequences of her actions. I hired a private investigator to dig into Matt's past. It didn't take long to uncover the truth. His business dealings were murky, riddled with financial discrepancies and questionable transactions. Claire had known. She had willingly entangled herself in his world, and now, it was all coming back to haunt her. I made a call to the authorities, ensuring that Matt's activities were placed under scrutiny. If Claire thought she could betray me without repercussions, she was wrong. The final blow came when a journalist reached out. The story had caught their attention: Claire's affair, her involvement with Matt's dubious business dealings, the destruction of a marriage that had once appeared unshakable. I didn't hesitate. The world deserved to know. When the story broke, Claire's world collapsed. Friends distanced themselves. Professional connections severed ties. The consequences of her betrayal rippled through every aspect of her life. Months passed, and the divorce was finalized. I was granted full custody of Lily, ensuring that she wouldn't be caught in the crossfire of her mother's reckless choices. Claire lost everything: her marriage, her reputation, her family. She wasn't the only one who had suffered, but she would be the one to bear the full weight of her decisions. Lily and I began rebuilding our lives piece by piece. The pain lingered, but so did the promise of a fresh start. David remained by my side, a steadfast friend through it all. As the dust settled, I realized that while revenge had been satisfying, true healing could only come from moving forward. I had taken back control, not just of my life, but of my future. Looking out at the horizon, I knew one thing for certain: I was done with the past. It was time to start anew, on my own terms.